watching Let's Chat.
C. Mark and John Mark are here. Always a blast having Warren and Griffin here in the studio with us. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. Welcome closer to the neighborhood. The move has been completed.
Yes, well
you know,
still in the process right now.
It's still
it's a journey, not a destination.
Still
okay?
some odds and ends construction going on.
It's going to be a journey for a long time. But I got to say, ain't it good to be alive and be in Tennessee?
Yes, sir,
and
it is.
And because this time next month, I think we'll be knee-deep in football season.
Yeah, we are.
And Solid Orange drive-through.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Our first Solid Orange drive-through, by the way, is coming up on the 19th. So that's going to be a blast. And
Is that the Oklahoma game?
That's the Oklahoma game.
Oklahoma. The Sooners.
You are not here to talk about football,
No.
although
hopefully
we
the
could.
balls come sweeping down the field.
Yes.
You guys are here to talk about pedestrian safety and some pretty alarming statistics. Just in 2023, 130 pedestrians and cyclists were struck.
Right.
17 of them killed.
Yes, and it's concerning because it's an uptick from last year. It's 15 more pedestrians hurt and killed from last year, so it is an uptick from last year. That's what we keep an eye on is trends.
Right.
And right now we're trending in the wrong direction in Hamilton County, the city of Chattanooga.
It's pretty self-evident, but explain to us why pedestrian safety is so vitally important.
You know, pedestrian versus car or bicyclist versus car, the car is going to always win. And so there are things that both pedestrians need to do to look out for their own safety and things that drivers need to do to look out for the safety of the pedestrians. I mean, both need to be concerned about the pedestrians, particularly Chattanooga's an example of where you're trying to create a pedestrian-friendly city.
Yeah, right.
A lot of cities are that way, and we're trending that way, so we need to be more aware of pedestrians, you know, around and shopping and crossing streets.
And John Mark brings up a great point because we market ourselves as being an outdoor city.
Sure.
Boulder, Colorado, you know, get out, walk around, enjoy God's graces of Chattanooga.
Right.
And so we want to promote that. We have to be proactive when we promote that we also provide protection for those pedestrians that we draw to the city.
Frequently, the three of us talk about put your phone down while you're driving, which is always a good idea, and it's the law. But more and more, you see pedestrians who are crossing streets, looking at their devices, not paying a bit of attention to the motor traffic around them. So it is sort of incumbent on the pedestrians as well.
Well, you should always cross at the corner. You
Right.
should always look for a crosswalk. You should, when you do cross, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be in your cell phone. The city of Chattanooga has done a very good job of putting roads on a diet. You know, they talk about putting roads on a diet, where you go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
Right.
And like Cherokee Boulevard area, they're putting, they had a study that was done in 2016 that could have prevented so many deaths and injuries, but it's being done now where you actually go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and it slows down the traffic that way.
How do you think we're doing on improving the infrastructure for pedestrians?
Well, I think Mark makes a point. That's an example, and while it may be frustrating to some motorists that the roadway is certainly only 2 lanes versus 4, it does slow traffic down, and that's protective of pedestrians, but drivers still need to make certain you look out for pedestrians. You need to make sure you follow the speed limit. If you're in an area where you're crossing, if you're driving in through an intersection, don't pass a car at an intersection because you're going to be obstructed. You always slow down at crosswalks. And look, even if the driver has the right of way because the light's green, watch out for those pedestrians because the pedestrian's going to lose and you're going to be the one that strikes that pedestrian. Put down the phone, follow the rules of the road, drive the speed limit, be cautious at those intersections, slow down.
And I'll tell you, if you hit a pedestrian while you're in your motorized vehicle, that will stay with you every day for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
That's what we see. I mean, we see both sides of it. You know, if we have to come down and file a lawsuit, you know, we take the deposition of the driver of the vehicle, you know, and they have had to live with it for over a year or 2 years for the rest of their lives because they hurt somebody.
You will live with that for the rest of your life. And God forbid you get in an accident involving a pedestrian, but if you get in an accident that does involve someone who is walking or even in another vehicle, what are the best things that we need to do first?
Well, first off, render aid and call 911. That's number one, of course. You know, check on the pedestrian, you know, render aid if you can, call 911. Then obviously after the fact, you have to notify your insurance company about what happened. Like I said, car versus pedestrian is always going to lose.
Yeah. look at the pedestrian, a lot of folks don't know this, but a pedestrian that has uninsured motorist coverage that is struck by a vehicle, if that vehicle doesn't have liability coverage, that pedestrian can utilize their uninsured motorist coverage for the injuries that they sustain.
Even though they're not driving their car.
Even though they're not driving the car.
Isn't that wild? That
That seems
uninsured
kind
mode.
of-
It does.
yeah,
It does
that's
catch-
Because they're injured by a motor vehicle,
Right.
and if they're injured by a motor vehicle, then you can rely on your uninsured motorist coverage.
For example, you have big medical bills if you're hit by a car.
No
You
doubt.
know, and the other car has $25,000 in coverage. Well, that's not going to cover your medical bills. So you look to your uninsured motorist for additional protection. Say you have a policy of $100,000. You know, your insurance company then taps in $75,000
Yeah.
for $25,000.
Right.
So it's another reason everyone should have uninsured motorists. Period. No
Guys,
exceptions.
we are up against the clock. Thanks to both of you for joining us. We're glad you moved a little closer to us. They are in the 1300 block of Carter Street
Yes.
downtown, but everything else
Come
stays
by
the
and see
same.
us.
One
Website,
other thing,
phone
Chips,
number,
we're talking about pedestrians. School is getting ready to start back up here in the
Yes.
next week or so. Be careful. Watch for those school zones. Watch for the kids. Pay attention. Sometimes we're not paying attention at the beginning of the school year because it's new to us, but pay attention.
Call
Amen.
these guys, 265-HURT. That's 265-HURT. And the website, warrenandgriffin.com. We'll be right back with more on Let's Chat.